Chapter 35-34. The man did not expect her to stop and turn around to ask him a question. He was stunned for a moment. "Why are you following us?" Fengjiu asked again. At this moment, the man regained his senses. He looked at her, and his gaze fell on her hand. "You know ancient medicine. Moreover, the Madam Ling that everyone is talking about today should be you, right?" Hearing this, Fengjiu raised her eyebrows. This was not a question, but an affirmation. "But, ancient medicine?" She looked at the man and asked, and then, "I want to ask you to help save someone." The man said this and hurriedly added, "I will pay the reward." Not interested. Fengjiu smiled. She held Xianyuan Mo's hand and walked forward. It was true that she knew medicine, but she had always saved people based on her mood. She would not save anyone she met. Moreover, she did not even know who the person in front of her was. Why should she help him save someone? The two of them walked forward. The person behind them paused for a moment and followed. However, he did not get too close. After all, the bearded man's aura was very intimidating. However, as he followed behind, he saw that the bearded man, who did not speak much, looked at the woman in green. His gaze was gentle and affectionate. As the two of them walked, because the street was very crowded, he used his body to protect the woman from being bumped into. The woman wanted to eat snacks from the street stalls, so he squeezed forward to buy for her. The woman bought all the things she bought, and he helped to put them all into the space. He followed along and saw the man's considered actions. He could not help but feel strange and confused. That man was obviously a very powerful person. How could a person like him do such a thing for a woman? In the evening, when the sky was dark, Xianyuan Mo's Fengjiu returned to the inn to rest. The man also followed her into the inn. In the middle of the night, there was a sudden rumbling sound that shocked almost everyone in the city. Many people put on their clothes and went out to check. What happened? Where did the sound come from? Did something explode? Or did the mountain collapse? Why was the sound so loud? Something happened at the Yu family. The Yu family is on fire. They are surrounded by hundreds of people in black. The various aristocratic families in the city do not dare to interfere. In the room, Xianyuan Mo's and Fengjiu heard this and could not help but look at each other. Could it be those people who ambushed them on the road? Now that the item is in our hands, why are they still targeting the Yu family? They probably do not believe that the family heirloom and think it is a scam. Xianyuan Mo's B. "Let's go take a look," Xianyuan Mo said. He put his hand around her waist and jumped out of the window with her. The man guarding outside seemed to have sensed something. He quickly rushed out of the inn. Seeing the two figures in the night sky, he quickly followed. Chapter 35-35. Over 100 black-clothed men with sharp swords surrounded the Yu residence. They stood on top of the wall and stared at the Yu family members who were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. The black-clothed man in the lead stared at Yu Chengda below and narrowed his vicious eyes. "Yu Chengda, there's a limit to my patience. Hand over the item if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, so what if I wash your Yu family in blood today?" His vicious voice was filled with vicious killing intent, causing the Yu family members to be terrified. The people who were hiding and watching also felt their hearts tremble. How did the Yu family offend such a murderous god? What was the Yu family's heirloom? How could it cause these people to be so aggressive? Yu Chengda clenched his fists tightly and glared at the black-clothed man above. He raised his voice and said, "I already said that I gave that item to someone else as a thank you gift. It's not in the hands of my Yu family members." Haha, who would believe your nonsense? The Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror is a treasure passed down from your ancestors for 3 generations. How could you give it away so easily? Even if you want to lie, you should find a more believable one. The black-clothed man sneered, obviously not believing his words. Elder Yang, who had rushed over after hearing the news, saw the Yu family surrounded by over 100 black-clothed men. He couldn't help but frown and was about to step out. However, he was stopped by someone after taking a few steps. "Elder Yang, what are you planning to do?" Bailey Bowen pulled him to a corner. "These people are full of killing intent. I'm afraid they will really destroy the Yu family. Although I don't know who these people are, I still have some reputation. I'll go out and say something. Maybe I can help them." As Elder Yang spoke, He broke free from Bailey Bowen's hand and walked out. Elder Yang, Elder Yang, Bailey Bowen shouted, but he saw that the old man didn't listen to him at all. Bailey Bowen couldn't help but shake his head and sigh as he followed him out. This Elder Yang and his Bailey family were old friends. Even if he couldn't save the Yu family members and couldn't care about the Yu family's matters, he could still protect Elder Yang in times of danger. Looks like you won't shed tears without seeing blood. Since you're not going to hand it over, then don't blame me for killing everyone in your Yu residence one by one in front of you. As the black-robed man spoke, he raised his hand. Just as he was about to give the order, he heard an old but vigorous voice. Wait. The black-robed man narrowed his eyes and turned his head. Looking at the old man walking over, he frowned under the mask. Old man, you want to meddle in other people's business? As he spoke, the black-robed man twirled the long sword in his hand, and a cold light flashed through the night. This old man just came out to say a few words. As Elder Yang spoke, he stared at the person without any fear. He continued, My surname is Yang, and I'm a publicly acknowledged alchemy saint. I'm ashamed to say that I lost to a young woman yesterday. I truly am a disgrace to the title of alchemy saint. Hearing the old man sighing and feeling ashamed, the black-robed man's killing intent became even stronger. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Get lost. If you don't scram, don't blame me for taking your life. Chapter 35-36. As Elder Yang spoke, he looked at the black-robed man and said, Even if you kill them all, they won't be able to take out what you want. Since that's the case, why stain yourself with blood? Moreover, anyone with a discerning eye can see that no one in the Yu family is a match for you. Don't you think it's beneath your dignity to kill some people who aren't a match for you? Hearing Elder Yang's words, the corner of Bailey Bowen's mouth twitched. What was Elder Yang thinking by talking about his identity to these murderers? I agree with that. A casual voice sounded, causing everyone to be startled, especially the Yu family members, Elder Yang, and Bailey Bowen who had heard this voice. They were even more astonished. Didn't they already leave? Why were they still here? After the pleasant surprise, Patriarch Yu was deeply worried. There were over 100 people here, and the strength of these people was obviously different from the people who ambushed them on the way here. Just the 12 people beside the black-robed man. Each of them had unfathomable strength. With so many people, would Master Ling and Madam Ling have a chance of winning? Elder Yang looked towards the direction of the voice and saw two figures standing on a roof not far away. They were very clear under the night sky. The woman was dressed in cyan clothes. She had an ordinary face and a lazy temperament. With a single glance, one could see her existence. Behind her was a man in black clothes. The man had a large beard and his face could not be seen clearly. The only thing that could be seen was that his aura was very cold. Madam Ling, didn't you leave? Why did you come back? Elder Yang was also very surprised when he saw her. There were over 100 people here waiting for her to take the family heirloom, but she actually came back? Shouldn't a normal person leave after hearing the news? Why was this person so different from normal people? The black-robed man stared at the two people who suddenly appeared. With just a glance, he narrowed his eyes and asked, Madam Ling, the woman that Yu Qingda spoke of? Feng Jiao didn't even look at the black-robed man. He just smiled at Elder Yang and said, We were originally strolling around the western part of the city and planned to leave tomorrow. I didn't expect that someone would come to the Yu family to ask for the treasure that is already in my hands. As she spoke, she flipped her palm, and an 8 trigrams mirror appeared in her hand. She tossed it into the air, and the 8 trigrams mirror returned to her hand. Are you looking for this thing? At this moment, the Yu clan's patriarch's breath was stuck in his throat. Was Madam Ling tired of living? He actually took out the mirror and played with it in front of them. He was simply courting death. The black-robed man stared at the 8 trigrams mirror in her hand. The sun, moon, and the shape of the 8 trigrams mirror were very clear in the night. With just a glance, he knew that it was the 8 trigrams mirror he was looking for. He glanced at Yu Qingda and snorted coldly. I didn't expect that you would be willing to give such a treasure to a woman of unknown origin. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and the black-robed men surrounding the Yu clan instantly changed directions. With a flash, they had already surrounded the two people standing on the roof not far away. Chapter 35-37. You're talking about those fleas that popped out a while ago. Fengjiu looked at the 8 trigrams mirror. He really didn't know what this thing was for. Fleas? Not only did the black-robed man emit killing intent, but the hundreds of black-robed men also clenched their swords tightly. Their eyes were filled with bloodthirsty killing intent and cold anger as they stared at the green-robed woman. She actually dared to call them fleas? She really didn't know the meaning of death. Sword chi shot out from the blades of their swords. The crowd below couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air as they observed a moment of silence for the two. Of all the people she could have provoked, why did she have to provoke these fiends? This time, even if she didn't die, she would lose a layer of skin. Looking at the incoming sword chi, Fengjiu smiled and said to Xianyuan Mo's husband, "Since we're leaving tomorrow, why don't we do something big tonight?" Do something big? When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but feel speechless. Especially Elder Yang and House Master Bailey. The corners of their mouths twitched. Those who didn't know would think that the two of them came from a bandit's nest. Xianyuan Mo's looked at her dotingly and replied, "Okay." As soon as his voice fell, his figure had already swept out. With a turn of his body, a powerful aura swept out, and those black-clothed men who were holding swords and wanted to kill people fell down one by one before they could even draw their swords. The thick smell of blood permeated the air. In the darkness of the night, those black-clothed men fell down without any strength to fight back. The powerful pressure and the overwhelming killing intent made the hearts of the surrounding people tremble violently. House Master Bailey was shocked. Almost instinctively, he pulled Elder Yang and quickly retreated 100 meters away. The killing intent and aura emitted from the bearded man was too terrifying. He almost couldn't breathe at that moment. Moreover, this was under the circumstance that the aura and killing intent weren't directed at him. He really didn't dare to imagine what kind of death aura it would be if the aura and killing intent were directed at him. When he thought of this, he felt his hair stand on end. A chill ran up from the bottom of his feet to his heart. Shock and fear that he hadn't felt in a long time filled his heart, to the point that he didn't even dare to breathe loudly. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. I want to take down the big one. Fengjiu's voice carried a trace of excitement. She turned her hand and put away the Bagua mirror. With a tap of her foot, she held a dagger in a reverse grip and attacked the masked black-robed man with a speed that was too fast for one to cover their ears. The black-robed man watched in horror as the bearded man in black robes killed dozens of his subordinates in one move. Seeing the overwhelming killing intent rolling towards him, the black-robed man was shocked. Before he could react, he felt a chill coming towards him. Instinctively, he quickly dodged, but unexpectedly, his shoulder was still ruthlessly slashed by a knife. Swish! Hiss! He sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at the green-clothed woman. She was holding a dagger in a reverse grip, and there was a smile on her ordinary face. Her slightly curled lips revealed a hint of mockery and strangeness, causing his heart to turn cold. Chapter 35-38. Why didn't you dodge? Aren't you quite good at shouting? Fengjiu toyed with the dagger in his hand. He looked at the deep wound on the man's shoulder and curled his lips into a smile. Down below, Home Master Bailey narrowed his eyes. He had thought that Madame Ling was only skilled in medicine. He did not expect her speed to be so incredible as well. Even he could not see the direction of her attack at that speed. The wound stung and the night wind blew, chilling him to the bone. The black-robed man stared at the green-robed woman in front of him and asked in a gloomy voice, "Who are you people? Since when was there such a strong cultivator in this place?" He didn't even know how strong this person was. "What does it matter who I am? The thing you want is in my hands, isn't it? Didn't you say that you wanted to kill me? I'm waiting for you to try and see if you have the ability to hurt me." As Fengjiu spoke, his figure moved and the green-robed figure swept out again. The sharp dagger slashed through the night sky and flashed with a cold light. "Ah!" Another blood-curdling scream was heard. This scream caused the hearts of the black-robed men who were still alive in Xinyuan Mo's hands to tremble. They looked in the direction of the sound and felt a chill on their necks. In the next moment, their eyes widened and they fell to the ground. Xinyuan Mo's glanced at the bodies on the ground in disgust. His deep black eyes looked at the remaining 12 black-robed men. These 12 people were more powerful than the rest. Hence, when he had taken the lives of the black-robed men, they had nimbly avoided the disaster. However, none of them would be able to leave this place alive tonight. When the 12 men saw that the bearded man had his eyes on them, they could not help but shiver. They immediately retreated towards their master. However, as soon as they turned around, the bearded man caught up to them. "Master, let's go," one of them shouted, not daring to continue fighting, because this wasn't a battle between the two sides at all. Instead, one side was reaping lives like an Azura. The masked man's shoulder was pierced by Fengjiu, and he felt all the strength in his body disappear. He couldn't help but fall to the ground from midair. At the same time, he saw the woman in green falling from midair. He couldn't help but grit his teeth, and with a flick of his sleeve, a teleportation scroll appeared in his palm. Before he could open it, the hand holding the teleportation scroll was kicked. The hand that was kicked pulled at the wound on his arm, and the pain caused his breath to dissipate. However, before he could stand up, a kick came at his face, and the mask on his face was kicked away. His whole body also fell to the ground in a sorry state. Clang! The mask fell to the ground, revealing his face hidden behind it. Fengjiu took a look and saw that the man's face was completely destroyed, as if he had been burned by fire. It was very hideous. She glanced at him and then looked away. Her eyes met his. "Speak. What's the secret behind this 8 trigrams mirror?" With a flick of her hand, the 8 trigrams mirror appeared in her hand again. Chapter 35-39. Fengjiu looked at him quietly, a faint light flashing across her cold eyes. Her languid voice rang out unhurriedly. "You're not going to speak? That's fine. I have many ways to make you speak. It just depends on whether you can take it or not." With that, she slashed the blade in her hand, and another bloody wound appeared on his body. She looked at him and said, "You can think about it slowly, but don't think about escaping. Once you've fallen into my hands, you won't be able to escape." Another gust of wind flashed past, and this time the tendons in his left leg were severed. The black-robed man gritted his teeth and groaned. He clenched his fists tightly, and a pair of bloodthirsty and ruthless eyes stared at Fengjiu like a wolf. Fengjiu curled her lips, raised the dagger in her hand, and slashed again. She said slowly, "I believe that a person like you will not commit suicide. Since you can't escape, if you want to die more comfortably, you can only obediently tell me what I want to know." 100 meters away, Elder Yang and House Master Bailey watched as she slashed the man's body again and again without batting an eyelid. They could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. Although they knew that the man was also an evil person whose hands were stained with blood, seeing a woman like this really made them shiver. On the other side, after Xinyuan Mo's had dealt with the 12 people, he looked at the scattered corpses and said to Yu Chengde, "Get someone to collect the things on the ground." Yu Chengde knew what he meant, so he called 2 middle-aged men forward and got them to collect the valuables on the corpses and hand them over to Xinyuan Mo's. Under his gaze, no one dared to covet those things. After all, this masterling was too powerful, and they respected him from the bottom of their hearts. Naturally, they did not dare to have any thoughts about him. Xinyuan Mo's swept his eyes over the corpses with his hands behind his back. For someone of his strength, these people were like ants in front of him. He could kill them with a light touch, and it would not take much effort to kill them. "Master Ling, this was found on the bodies of the black-robed men. Please take a look." Yu Chengde took the item and walked forward, handing it to him with both hands. Xinyuan Mo's glanced at it, then took the interspatial ring. He scanned the inside of the interspatial ring with his divine sense, then stored the ring in his interspatial ring. At the same time, he instructed Chengde, "Take care of the corpse on the ground." Yes. Yu Chengde replied, and hurriedly asked the people in the residence to clean up. He walked over to Feng Jiu and saw that the person on the ground was already on the verge of death. Xinyuan Mose walked over to Feng Jiu's side, raised his hand, and formed a soundproof barrier. Almost. Xinyuan Mose said, "Yes, I think it's about time." Feng Jiu nodded. She stepped forward and stepped on the man. The man on the ground opened his mouth and screamed. At the same time, she flicked a pill into his throat. "This is the loot." Xinyuan Mose handed the space ring to her. Feng Jiu smiled and kept it, saying, "Later, we'll find someone to pawn it. Pawn all of these things." Okay. The two of them talked for a while. Then Feng Jiu looked at the man on the ground and asked softly, "What's the use of the 8 trigrams mirror? What are you going to do with it?" Chapter 3540. Seeing this, Feng Jiu was a little surprised. This person's willpower was quite strong. She watched as blood flowed out from his mouth until his body finally stopped moving. Before he could even take a breath, he died. She couldn't help but sigh softly. What a stubborn person. This world was so cruel. The opponents he met today were above him in terms of strength. If the two of them did not appear, the Yu family would be the ones to be bathed in blood tonight. Seeing that the person had severed his own meridians and died, Xinyuan Mose calmly retracted his gaze and looked at the people around him. Feng Jiu took all the things on the other person's body, then said to Xinyuan Mose, "Let's go." With that, she raised her hand to disperse the soundproof barrier. Holding Xinyuan Mose's hand, she raised her chi and headed into the night. "Wait!" Elder Yang recovered his senses and hurriedly shouted. However, he saw the two figures quickly disappear into the night. No one knew where they went. Yu Qingde looked in the direction they left in, his heart filled with gratitude. He ordered people to clean up the scene, then cupped his hands in salute to Elder Yang and turned to enter the residence. "Tomorrow morning, get someone to repair the main gate." Yu Qingde instructed and walked inside to his father's courtyard. However, to his surprise, when he arrived at his father's courtyard, he saw the two people who had already left sitting in the courtyard and drinking tea. "Ling, Master Ling, Madam Ling, why are you?" He thought they had left, but did not expect them to come back. "We want to talk to your father," Feng Jiu said. At first, they thought it was something like a Dharma artifact. However, seeing that the person was unwilling to give up until his death, it was obviously not that simple. Now that the person was dead, and they had no clue about the 8 trigrams mirror, they could only see if there were any useful clues from Elder Yu's mouth. Hearing their words, Yu Qingde understood what they meant, so he nodded. "All right. However, although my father is awake, his body has been weak for a long time. After waking up, he has been sleeping most of the time. Why don't the two of you rest here tonight and ask my father tomorrow morning? Otherwise, I'm worried that his body won't be able to take it. After all, what happened tonight?" Seeing this, Xinyuan Mose said, "Tomorrow then. However, the reason we came back here after leaving is because we don't want to be disturbed." Yes, I know. I'll pass it on," he said hurriedly. Thus, the two of them stayed here for another night, while the members of the Yu clan were busy. After all, the incident tonight had destroyed half of the Yu clan's main gate, so it was impossible for the people in the residence to rest. And at the back door of the Yu clan, there was a figure standing guard. When Yu clan's guards discovered this, they reported it to the Yu clan head. The Yu clan head didn't have time to rest and went to the back door to take a look. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Yu Qingde looked at the man and asked. "I'm waiting for Madam Ling and the others," the man said. Hearing this, Yu Qingde was slightly startled and sized him up. "They've already left. Why are you still guarding here?" "I saw them go in," the man said. Hearing this, Yu Qingde smiled and didn't say anything else. He just turned around and walked inside. Seeing this, the man hesitated, then said, "Yu clan head, please wait." Chapter 3541. I wanted to ask for medical treatment, but Madam Ling refused to do it. So I want to ask, how did your father get Madam Ling to agree to save his life? He had also mentioned a reward, but obviously they didn't value it. Hearing this, Yu Gud was startled and said, "I don't know either. But Madam Ling is a sentimental person. If you want to seek medical treatment, why don't you appeal to her emotions?" According to his observation and the way she looked at people, Madame Ling was a sentimental person. Otherwise, she would not have rushed back after knowing that the Yu family was in trouble. The Yu family was fortunate to have met people like this couple. Otherwise, this would have been a disaster that would have wiped out the entire family. After this incident, they could be considered to have overcome a great calamity. In the future, even if there were people coming for the 8 trigrams mirror, they would not come for the Yu family. Appeal to her emotions? The man stood there in a daze, as if he was thinking about something. Yu Qingda glanced at him and said, "But if you want to seek medical treatment, why don't you ask Elder Yang? His medical skills are also very high. He can't cure her." The man shook his head. "Who did you seek medical treatment for?" Yu Qingda asked again. The man paused for a moment before saying, "My fiancée. Her hair is white before she is old. She is so thin that she is on the verge of death. All the doctors say that she will not live past this year. I have seen Madame Ling's acupuncture technique. It is an ancient medical technique. Perhaps only she can save my fiancée." As Yu Qingda listened, he walked inside. He did not want to meddle in other people's business, but when he saw the man's expression when talking about his fiancée, he could not help but sigh and walk to another courtyard. Outside the courtyard, he saw that the lights in the room were still on. He walked in and called out, "Madame Ling, are you still awake?" Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mose were talking in the room. When they heard the sound outside, Feng Jiu got up and walked outside. He opened the door and looked at Yu Qingda, asking, "What's the matter?" "Madame Ling, there's a man guarding the back door. He said that he followed you here. He said that he's here to seek medical treatment for his fiancée. He said that his fiancée's hair is white and she won't live past this year. He wants to ask for your help." Hearing this, Feng Jiu leaned against the door and chuckled. "Patriarch Yu is so kind." Yu Qingda smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm just helping him pass on a few words. As for what Madame Ling will do, I dare not say anything to stop her. However, I know that Madame Ling is a righteous person. Otherwise, she would not have come back tonight to save my Yu family from danger. Madame Ling and Master Ling's great kindness, my Yu family will never dare to forget." "All right." Feng Jiu waved his hand and said, "Go and call that person in." Hearing this, Yu Qingda smiled and said, "Yes." Then he turned and walked out. Yu Qingda personally went outside and gave him a few more reminders before leading the astonished man to the backyard. Xianyuan Mose came to Feng Jiu's side and asked, "Are you planning to treat her?" "Let's see. I'm more curious as to why this person would seek medical treatment for his fiancée." She smiled and held his hand, saying, "Go and sleep first. You don't have to wait for me." "No, I'll accompany you," Xianyuan Mose said and went to sit in the middle of the courtyard. Seeing this, Feng Jiu smiled helplessly and went to sit beside him, saying, "Why don't we have the kitchen prepare a few dishes to go with the wine?" Chapter 35-42. After Yu Qingda brought him in, he didn't stay behind and left the courtyard. The man looked at the 2 people inside and walked in. Song Yiping greets Master Ling and Madame Ling. He cupped his hands and bowed, not daring to be impudent. After all, not only did he personally witness the ruthlessness of the 2 people when they killed, but he was also personally knocked down the stairs by Master Ling's aura. "Tell me, who are you helping to treat? Where's this person?" Feng Jiu supported his chin with one hand and looked at the man who called himself Song Yiping. "My fiancée, Yi Ling. She contracted a strange illness in October last year, and her hair turned white overnight. She seems to have lost her soul and doesn't eat or drink. Every night, she wanders around and comes back in the morning. Her body is getting thinner day by day, and she's lying on the bed on the verge of death." As he spoke, he knelt down in front of the 2 of them. "I know that the medical skills of the ancient doctors are superb. Madame Ling, please help me. Even if you want my life, I won't frown." As he spoke, a servant girl brought in wine and dishes and placed them on the table. Xianyuan Mose poured the wine and drank it. He picked up a mouthful of food and didn't pay much attention to Song Yiping's words. He left everything to Feng Jiu to handle. Whether she saved her or not, he would support her. Hearing his words, Feng Jiu's hand that was supporting his chin moved slightly. His clear eyes flashed as he asked, "Where is she?" The Yi family is a hidden family, so Yi Ling is currently in the Yi family's Qianling Mountain. As he spoke, he anxiously added, "I have a transportation array connected to the Yi family. As long as Madame Ling agrees, it won't take half an incense's time, even if we use the transportation array from here. Tomorrow. I'll go with you tomorrow." Feng Jiu glanced at him. "After I take a look, if I can treat her, the remuneration won't be cheap. As long as you can save her, Madame Ling can ask for anything." Hearing this, Feng Jiu chuckled. "You're really willing. Didn't you say that her hair has turned white? Why, you don't mind? Ah Ling and I grew up together. Looks aren't something I'm interested in." Song Yiping said, "I didn't expect you to be such a sentimental person. All right, get up. See you tomorrow at the back of the mountain." As Feng Jiu spoke, he waved his hand, indicating for him to leave. "Yes, thank you, Master Ling, Madame Ling." He stood up, cupped his fists, and thanked them. Only then did he leave excitedly. The night was dark, and the two of them were not sleepy. They sat in the courtyard and chatted as they ate and drank. When they felt a little sleepy, they went back to their rooms to take a nap. The two of them slept until around 7 in the morning before getting up. After washing up, they went to Old Man Yu's courtyard. Patriarch Yu was already waiting there. "Master Ling, Madame Ling, you're here. My father has woken up and wants to see you," Yu Qingde said with a smile as he stepped forward. The two nodded and entered the room with Yu Qingde. The old man, sitting on the bed, squinted his eyes. When he heard the sound of them entering, he opened his eyes and looked at them. "Father, this is Master Ling and Madame Ling. They saved your life and our Yu family's lives," Yu Qingde said from aside. Chapter 35-43. "Old Master Yu, you don't have to do this." Feng Jiu raised his hand and said, "We came today to ask about the origin and use of the 8 trigrams mirror. How much do you know?" Hearing this, Old Master Yu said, "Actually, I know very little about this 8 trigrams mirror. When my father gave it to me, he only told me to keep it well and that the Yu family disciples are not allowed to drip blood on it to claim ownership. But I've tried. This 8 trigrams mirror can't claim ownership without dripping blood on it." Feng Jiu said, It can't claim ownership without dripping blood on it?" Old Master Yu was startled. "That's impossible. That's what my father told me. It can definitely claim ownership by dripping blood on it. But I really don't know what's going on." Catching his breath, Old Master Yu said, "Maybe my father didn't say it clearly before he passed away. But I remember that he said something." "What?" Xinyuan Mose asked. Old Master Yu thought for a while and said, "He said that this 8 trigrams mirror is a key that can open the Void Realm." When I wanted to ask for more details, he sighed and said, "But after so many years, I still don't know what the Void Realm is. I don't even know where it is. I didn't dare to let anyone know that I had this 8 trigrams mirror, so I kept it as an 8 trigrams mirror to ward off evil spirits. Until that time, when this 8 trigrams mirror resonated with the moonlight and reflected a dazzling light, people started to say that our Yu family had a treasure. And it was also from then on that things started to happen in our Yu family." The two of them listened in the room as he talked about what he knew. Actually, there wasn't much information that they could get. Not long after, the two of them bid farewell to them. Yu Qingde sent them out and said, "Master Ling, Madame Ling, if you have the chance to come again in the future, please come back to the Yu family as guests." Feng Jiu smiled and said, "Okay." Yu Qingde sent them to the mountain behind the Yu residence. Seeing that the man called Song Yiping was already waiting there, he clasped his hands and said, "Take care." "Take care." Feng Jiu returned the greeting and walked forward with Xinyuan Mose. Yu Qingde looked at them and saw the man take out a teleportation scroll. In the next moment, a ray of light flashed, and the three of them disappeared into thin air. When Xinyuan Mose and Feng Jiu stood still, they felt that the scenery in front of them had changed. From the back mountain of the Yu residence, they were now in a dense forest filled with towering trees. This is the periphery of Qianling Mountain. After passing through, we will enter the territory of the Yi clan. There are 8 hidden clans around Qianling Mountain. My clan, the Song clan, is also in the vicinity. Every hidden clan has their own territory on this piece of land. Unless it is necessary to move around, they generally won't cross the territories of other clans. Song Yiping introduced them as he led them forward. The Yi clan is proficient in formations and enchantments. There are also many formations and enchantments protecting their territory. However, I come here often and know how to avoid them. You just need to follow me. Chapter 35:44. There is no such thing as the head of the hidden families. Here, the hidden families do not offend each other and have their own strengths. There is rarely any conflict. Song Yiping said to them, the array area is right in front. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose and Feng Jiu looked forward. With their cultivation, these arrays and whatnot were child's play in their eyes. There wasn't the slightest bit of difficulty. At the front, Song Yiping carefully led the way. However, after walking for a while and passing through 2 arrays, his brows furrowed even tighter. He muttered, "Strange, why did the arrays change?" Feng Jiu glanced at the array, then held Xianyuan Mose's hand and walked forward. Song Yiping was startled for a moment. When he saw the 2 of them walk forward steadily and leisurely, easily avoiding the array, he immediately followed them. However, his pace wasn't slow, but he still saw that the distance between them was gradually increasing. He couldn't help but quicken his pace to catch up. Who dares to trespass into the Yi family's territory? A loud shout was heard. 4 men darted out from the shadows and blocked Xianyuan Mose and Feng Jiu's path. They stared at the 2 of them fiercely. "It's me." Song Yiping walked up from behind. He wiped his sweat and looked at the couple. He followed behind and watched them walk leisurely. Who knew that he almost did not catch up with them after turning left and right? Seeing Song Yiping, one of them smiled. "Yiping, why are you here? Why are you here? And these 2 are?" "This is Master Ling, and this is Madam Ling. I invited them to treat Ah Ling," Song Yiping said and asked, "How is Ah Ling recently? Is her body better? Can she eat?" Hearing this, the 4 men's faces changed. The smiles on their faces disappeared. They moved their lips as if they did not know what to say and did not speak. Seeing this, Song Yiping's heart trembled and his face paled. Is she not well?" His voice trembled and his heart clenched. Seeing him like this, the older man sighed. "Ever since you left last time, Yi Ling's situation has worsened. She used to be able to walk and would go out at night. Later on, she could no longer walk and has been lying in bed. However, from then on, many people in the clan started to have problems. Every night, they would go out and their bodies became worse and worse." Speaking of him, he paused for a moment and continued. This matter was suppressed by the clan, but for some reason, the other clans still found out about it. Moreover, it was said that strange things were happening one after another in the other clans. In the end, they blamed it on our Yi clan and demanded an explanation from us. The elders of the clan had no choice, so they discussed cremating Yi Ling. They said that she was restrained by evil spirits, and if she wasn't cremated, then strange things would probably happen in the clan. Hearing this, Song Yiping's hands were tightly clenched into fists. His body trembled and his eyes became bloodshot. He asked in a trembling voice, You burned her to death?" He rushed forward and grabbed one of them by the collar, shaking him like a madman. "Are you just going to watch them burn your sister to death like this? You just watched and didn't do anything? Why didn't you send me a message? Why?" Chapter 35:45. When the person beside him saw this, he hurriedly stepped forward. "Yiping, don't be rash. Yi Ling isn't dead yet. She's still alive." Hearing this, Song Yiping was stunned. His hands also paused. "What did you say? Ah Ling isn't burned to death?" No, because the other families want to see her being cremated, so..." Before the man could finish, he was fiercely interrupted. "What cremation? How can you call a cremation if she's not dead?" Song Yiping shouted angrily. Yes, I'm wrong." The man sighed helplessly. "They all want to see, so they chose to burn her tonight at the peak of Qianling Mountain. I won't let them burn Ah Ling. I want to save her. Song Yiping said with red eyes. He wanted to charge forward like a madman, but he was stopped by a few people. "Calm down," the older man shouted. He stared coldly at him and said, "Your Song family didn't stop them from burning Yi Ling to death. Moreover, your father has already proposed to annul the marriage. Your marriage with Yi Ling will be annulled." "No, impossible. I'll only be with her in this life. If they dare to burn her, I'll die with her." He roared angrily, the veins on his hands popping out. Xinyuan Mose and Fengjiu were watching from the side. They were a little surprised. They didn't expect things to turn out like this. What evil spirit possessed her? He actually wanted to burn a woman who was still alive? These so-called hidden families must have lost their minds, right? Yipping, if you act so rashly, not only will you not be able to save Ah Ling, you'll also lose your life. The man who Song Yipping had grabbed by the chest said in a low voice. His sharp gaze landed on Song Yipping. "If you rush in now and alert the other Yi family members, do you believe that you'll be captured and thrown into the dungeon? You won't even be able to see Ah Ling?" The older man saw this and said, "That's right. If you rush in so impulsively, you will only be caught and thrown into the dungeon, so as to prevent you from interfering with tonight's matter. At that time, let alone saving her, even seeing her would be impossible." When Song Yipping heard their words, his body went soft and he fell to the ground. "Then what should we do? Am I supposed to just watch her burn to death with my own eyes? She's still alive. You're her clansmen, her family. Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you stop it?" The four of them lowered their eyes, not saying a word. It wasn't that they didn't want to stop it. They tried to stop it, but they couldn't. Moreover, they were sent here to guard the Yi family's Leaf Realm and weren't allowed to participate in Yi Ling's matter. What could they do? They were also helpless. Their seniority wasn't the highest in the family, and they weren't the strongest in the family. Even if they tried to stop it, no one would listen to them. They couldn't stop it at all. However, they didn't expect that the four of them would be sent here to guard the Yi family's Leaf Realm and meet Song Yipping, who had just returned from outside. Fortunately, they were the ones guarding the Leaf Realm. If it were anyone else, Song Yipping would have been either chased away or captured. How could he still receive news about Yi Ling? Chapter 3546. His hopeful gaze landed on Xianyuan Mose and Fengjiu as he knelt on the ground. "Master Ling, Madam Ling, please help me. Please help me save Yi Ling." He knew that if Yi Ling had any chance of survival, it would be with them. As long as they were willing, perhaps Yi Ling could be saved. When the older man saw this, he sighed and patted him on the shoulder. "Yipping, don't be like this. No one can save Yi Ling tonight. Not only will the elders of the Yi family go to the summit of Qianling Mountain, even the other families will be there. How could the strength of the 8 great hidden families be stopped by just anyone? Moreover, it's impossible to save her under the watchful eyes of so many people. Why do you have to make things difficult for these two?" Song Yipping ignored him and pleaded bitterly, "Master Ling, Madam Ling, I beg you, I beg you." Seeing a man pleading like this, Fengjiu's heart couldn't help but soften. Song Yipping's deep affection for Yi Ling had moved her. Since that was the case, why not help him this once? What's more, she couldn't agree with burning a woman alive. "Get up, we'll help you," Fengjiu said and gestured for him to get up. Hearing this, the 4 members of the Yi family were slightly surprised. They looked at the woman in green and said, "Madam, do you know what's going on? Tonight at midnight, the 8 great hidden families will be watching. How can you save a dying person under the watchful eyes of so many people? You have to know that if you really do it, you'll become the public enemy of the 8 great hidden families." Fengjiu laughed when he heard this. "You so-called hidden families don't live up to your reputation. When something strange happens in your family, you blame it on a woman, and you say something about being possessed by an evil spirit. You're too useless." She cast a nonchalant glance at them and said, "If we burn Yi Ling, so what if strange things keep happening in your family? I think the elders of your clan are also muddle-headed. Instead of finding the root of the problem, they pushed an innocent girl to her death. By doing this, aren't they afraid of being labeled as heartless and useless?" Hearing her words, the few of them moved their mouths, but no words came out. Song Yiping, let's go. Fengjiu looked at Song Yiping and said, then turned around and left with Xianyuan Mose. Song Yiping was stunned for a moment. After thinking for a while, he quickly followed. The members of the Yi clan watched them walk away. Only then did they come back to their senses. They looked at each other and walked back without saying anything. After a while, Song Yiping couldn't help but ask, Mrs. Ling, how are we going to save Ling? What he was most concerned about was how to save the woman he loved. When he thought that she would be burned to death at night, his heart couldn't help but clench, and his emotions couldn't calm down. Didn't they say it? Tonight at midnight, we'll burn her to death at the peak of Qianling Mountain. Since that's the case, let's go take a look at the environment there first before we discuss. Fengjiu said as he held Xianyuan Mose's hand and walked unhurriedly. Chapter 35:47. Song Yiping led them to the mountain path of Qianling Mountain as he said, there's only one path to the top of the mountain, and that's the path we're currently on. There's no other path. Aside from the people of the 8 reclusive families, there's no one else on Qianling Mountain. Thus, the path to the top of the mountain is usually empty. As he spoke, he led them forward. Compared to places with formations, climbing the mountain was tiring, but to them, it was like walking on flat ground. In particular, Xianyuan Moses Fengjiu seemed to be walking at a leisurely pace, but his speed wasn't slow at all. Song Yiping struggled to follow behind them. The distance between them gradually widened. Seeing the 2 people getting further and further away from him, he gritted his teeth and rushed forward again. When he arrived at the top of the mountain, panting and crying, he saw the 2 people sitting on a large rock to rest. Normally, climbing to the top of the mountain wasn't difficult for him, but he wanted to catch up to them, so he was exhausted. At this moment, his hands were on his knees as he bent over and panted. His ears were ringing. He saw the 2 of them talking, but he couldn't hear what they were saying. The mountain terrain here is quite steep. The only way up is the path we took. It's surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and an abyss on 1 side. I wonder what's down there? Fengjiu said to Xianyuan Mose as he looked down. He saw that the bottom of the cliff was bottomless. It was filled with fog and gave off a strange and dangerous aura. I've seen everything here. Now, do you have any ideas? Xianyuan Mose asked as his deep gaze fell on Fengjiu. Didn't they say they wanted to burn you Ling to death? Since that's the case, why don't we beat them at their own game? Fengjiu smiled as his eyes flickered with a calculating light. Xianyuan Mose's lips curled. It's good that you have an idea. Tell me, I'll help you. I want to go down and take a look. I don't know what's down there. Will you come with me? Fengjiu said as she held his hand. Xianyuan Mose glanced down and said, even though it's covered by clouds, we can still see the yin qi. Furthermore, the airflow seems to have formed a vortex. If we have to be careful, we have to be careful. Yes, she replied with a smile, before turning to the panting Song Yiping and said, wait for us here. Let's go down and take a look at the environment. Hearing this, Song Yiping was stunned and hurriedly said, no way. There's a poisonous gas down there. Even a cultivator with a high cultivation base will die without a doubt. When they heard this, the 2 of them looked down at the mist that filled the air. In the next moment, Fengjiu said, got it. You stay here. We'll be up soon. As he spoke, he held Xianyuan Mose's hand and jumped down. Master Ling, Madam Ling. Song Yiping quickly stepped forward, only to see the 2 figures descending. Soon after, they disappeared into the clouds, and their figures could not be seen. Seeing this, he couldn't help but stare blankly, trying to see if he could see the 2 of them. However, no matter how he looked, he couldn't see them. Could something have happened? Chapter 35:48. Xianyuan Moses and Fengjiu's bodies glowed with a faint light. This was the aura of a divine king expert. This aura protected their bodies, forming a protective barrier that prevented them from being poisoned. Originally, they were already immune to poisons, not to mention that they were divine king experts. With such strength, how could they be hurt by a small poison mist? There's a cave here. As Fengjiu descended, she saw a cave. The cave was as tall as a person and as wide as two people. The surrounding vines covered half of the cave, making it inconspicuous, especially since this cave was under the poisonous mist and, at the same time, there was still a long way to go from the bottom of the cliff. Xinyuan Mose glanced at it and said, "The cave entrance is slippery. The vines cover half of the cave entrance, but they don't completely cover it. There should be a giant spirit snake inside. Be careful." Fengzhou's eyes lit up. If there's a spirit snake here, does that mean there's a spirit plant here? As she spoke, she prepared to go in and take a look, but Xinyuan Mose pulled her back. "Let me," Xinyuan Mose said helplessly. He pulled her behind him, and, at the same time, used his divine sense to scan the cave. A night pearl was thrown into the cave. Hiss! The hissing sound of the snake's forked tongue could be heard, and the two of them heard a faint movement. In the next moment, a spirit snake the size of a child suddenly rushed out of the cave and attacked the two of them. The snake opened its mouth and spat out venom that splashed several meters away. The two of them nimbly dodged. At the same time, a gold coin flew out from Xinyuan Mose's hand and hit the spirit snake's weak spot. The strong hidden force of the gold coin pierced through the snake's weak spot. The snake hissed and twitched for a while before lying down. The snake's head drooped to the bottom of the cliff, but the snake's tail was still in the cave. "It's already a saint-rank spirit snake," Fengzhou said. With a move of her hand, a dagger appeared in her hand. The two of them entered the cave. Xinyuan Mose went to check it out and saw that it was quite big. It was actually the size of a room. Moreover, in the corner of the cave, there was a spirit plant with snake fruits. Fengzhou raised her dagger and dug out the spirit snake's crystal core. She also took out the snake's gallbladder and prepared to use it as medicine in the future. Finally, she took the snake's body that could be used as medicine and put it into the space. After washing her hands, she went inside. "There's a spirit plant here. You can move it into the space." Xinyuan Mose pointed to Fengzhou said, "The spirit plant." Fengzhou's eyes lit up. TSK, we're really lucky. It's actually a 1,000-year-old snake belly fruit. It looks like it's about to mature. While speaking, she carefully moved the spirit plant into the space. Only then did she look around the cave. Without the spirit snake and spirit plant, this cave is ordinary. It's not bad to use it as a place to rest. Xinyuan Mose said. Using the night illumination pearl, they illuminated the cave. After looking around the cave for a while, the two of them left the cave and went down. The lower they went, the colder the aura became. The two's God King aura also became stronger. When the two of them landed, the surrounding ground and air were like calm water that was stepped on by them. In an instant, ripples appeared. Chapter 35:49. What a heavy Yin-Chi. As Fengzhou spoke, she glanced around and saw that the Yin-Chi was spreading out with them as the center, quickly moving into the distance. Very few people come to this place, Xinyuan Mose said, then glanced around before calmly retracting his gaze. With their godly king aura, the Yin-Chi did not dare to come close to them. Even if it touched them, it could only disperse. Fengzhou retracted his divine sense after releasing it for a short distance. "Let's go up and match him," Xinyuan Mose replied, then led her up the stairs. Song Yiping, who was waiting at the top of the mountain, was anxiously pacing back and forth. He looked down from time to time. When he saw the two figures coming up, his eyes were filled with joy. "Master Ling, Madam Ling," Xinyuan Mose and Fengzhou came up and sat down on a rock. Fengzhou said, "We found a cave below. Listen, we will do this tonight." Fengzhou told him about tonight's operation. He took out a pill from his space and handed it to him. "Eat it." Song Yiping swallowed the pill without a word. Then, Xinyuan Mose brought him down. After passing through the poisonous fog, they arrived at the forest at the bottom. Fengzhou followed behind and said, "Prepare some food and branches before nightfall. Go back to the cave and wait," she said as she looked around. When Song Yiping arrived at the bottom, he could not help but be shocked. He had heard that the Yin-Chi below was very heavy and poisonous. Even ferocious beasts were rare here. Why did he feel that it was different from the rumors? He did not know that it was because Xianyuan, Mose, and Fengjiu were walking in the middle. The Yinshi around them automatically dispersed and did not dare to come close. Because of the two of them, they were able to gather everything they needed before nightfall. Then, they returned to the cave halfway up the mountain. Song Yiping lit a small fire and heard Madame Ling's voice. "Set up a rack. I have a pot here. Boil a pot of snake soup," Fengjiu said as he took out a big pot from his space. At the same time, he took out the spirit snake that they had killed earlier for him to handle. When he saw the spirit snake, Song Yiping nodded and replied, "Okay." After following them for an entire day, he had already gotten used to their occasional, astonishing feats. His heart remained calm as he looked at the large spirit snake. He didn't know when they had hunted it, but that was normal. After all, they were far too powerful. As the sky gradually darkened, more and more people carried torches to the top of the mountain. On the mountain path, the light from the torches danced in the darkness like the ghostly flames of a ghost. Xianyuan Mose sat cross-legged in the cave to cultivate. Song Yiping stayed by the fire, guarding the spirit snake soup. He looked outside from time to time, but he could not see anything. Fengjiu was looking at the people who were going up the mountain. The movement of the torches, the sound of footsteps, and the sound of talking made the originally quiet and secluded mountain peak lively. Chapter 3550. When he saw the woman in white, Fengjiu frowned and his expression turned cold. It was a woman who was so thin that she looked like she would be blown away by a gust of wind. She was lying on the stretcher, and other than the thin dress she was wearing, there was nothing else on her. No one even thought about the cold night wind and gave her a blanket to cover her to warm her body. She lay motionlessly on the stretcher. Her eyes were like a pool of stagnant water as she stared at the starry sky. Her silver-white hair was draped over the stretcher. White clothes, white dress, and white hair. In addition, she was so thin that it was impossible to see her original appearance. Only a horrifying visual sense remained. That's right, Yiling looked like an evil spirit in the middle of the night. She didn't have a trace of human aura. If a child saw her like this, they would probably be scared to tears. "Tie her up on the rack," an old man ordered. He had people help her up and tie her up. Two guards paused for a moment before helping her up. They whispered, "Young miss, sorry for the offense." They were only following orders and couldn't disobey. People came to the top of the mountain one after another. They saw the white-haired Yiling tied up on the stretcher and began to whisper among themselves. Yiling is a famous beauty in Qianling Mountain. I didn't expect her to become like this. If she wasn't Yiling, I wouldn't believe that such a terrifying woman is the Yi clan's young miss. She's only 20 years old, and her hair has turned white. Unbelievable. Before the incident, Yiling was considered a genius of the Yi clan. I didn't expect her to become like this after the incident and end up like this. It's a bit of pity. What's a pity? She's an unlucky woman possessed by an evil spirit. Why not burn her and let her continue to harm people? I heard that the Song clan's patriarch annulled the marriage between Song Yiping and Yiling. That brat Song Yiping is probably still outside, looking for medical help for Yiling. I wonder what will happen when he comes back and finds out that the marriage was annulled and Yiling was burned to death. What can he do? Even if he comes back now, he can't save Yiling tonight. People from the 8 clans are here. No one can save her. But the Yi clan's head is also ruthless. He was actually willing to burn his own daughter to death like this. You can't say that. If Yiling didn't have the protection of the Yi family's patriarch, how could she have survived until now? I eavesdropped on my father and the others, saying that Patriarch Yi had also opposed it, but it was useless. The Patriarch Yi was the one who had the final say. I heard that the Patriarch Yi had also threatened that if Patriarch Yi continued to oppose it, he would be stripped of his position as Patriarch. The man lowered his voice and said, "Think about it. If he were to be stripped of his position as the family head, he wouldn't be able to save Yiling either. It said that those who tried to stop him were punished by the elders. Family head, Yi didn't come tonight either. I heard that he was punished to reflect on his mistakes behind closed doors. Fengjiu, who was hiding in the shadows, heard the words of those people. She looked at Yiling and saw that she was already tied to the rack. A few guards piled branches around the rack and retreated. Chapter 35:51. Yiling looked at them quietly. Her gaze didn't waver at all, as if they weren't her clansmen. She didn't respond to their words. Seeing her like this, the old man's face darkened. He turned to look at the people from the other families 10 meters behind him and said, "Everyone, the people are already here. We'll light the fire when it's midnight." The eyes of the other families flashed, but no one spoke. When the Song family's patriarch saw this, he took a deep look at Yiling. Then he stepped forward and sighed. "Yiling, Yiping went out to look for a doctor for you and hasn't returned yet. Ever since your accident, he couldn't stay here any longer. He tried his best to cure you, but you should know your situation. If he could be cured, you wouldn't be in this state. I'm a father. I don't want my son to be ruined because of you. He didn't know about your marriage annulment, and he didn't know that you were going to be burned to death. If you want to blame someone, blame me." Tears welled up in Yiling's eyes when she heard Song Yiping's name. Her expression didn't change at all, but tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. Many young men and women couldn't bear to see that teardrop, and they all turned their heads away. She was once one of the most dazzling women in the 8 great hidden clans, but now she had become like this. Even though they weren't close to her, they still felt pity. As time passed, it was midnight. The patriarchs, standing in front of their clans, looked up at the bright moon above their heads. Their gazes landed on Yiling, who was dressed in white and had white hair. "It's midnight, light the fire." An elder of the Yi clan stood out and shouted. However, the guards of the Yi family hesitated. They looked at each other and lowered their heads at the same time. They did not move. They couldn't light the fire. Useless things. Seeing this, the elder snorted coldly. He snatched the torch from one of the guards and walked forward. "Tonight, this old man will personally light the fire." He stood in front of Yiling with the torch and said, "Yiling, this old man will send you off. You should be content." As he spoke, he threw the torch in his hand onto the bonfire. The tree branches that had already been covered in oil began to burn rapidly, making crackling sounds. At this moment, everyone looked at the woman tied to the frame and fell silent. They didn't say a word or make a sound. They just watched quietly. Burning a person alive was extremely cruel, but there was no other way. Who told her to be possessed by an evil spirit? They didn't do anything wrong. They just wanted to end this disaster caused by the evil spirit. Roar! Suddenly, a powerful beast roar rang out behind everyone. The powerful pressure caused everyone's hearts to tremble, and they all turned to look at the source of the sound. What's that sound? It's the sound of a fierce beast. No, this pressure, it should be a divine beast-level beast. But why is there a divine beast-level beast? What's going on? Chapter 35:52. At this moment, no one noticed that the small cluster of flames around her had formed a layer of protection that kept the flames outside her body at bay. By the time everyone turned around, they could already see that the flames had already ignited on Yiling's body. Through the flames, they could see that Yiling had already passed out from dizziness. The night wind was blowing, and the tree branches were crackling. Yiling's entire body was enshrouded in raging flames, and some people couldn't bear to look at her, while others were still distracted by the roar that had suddenly rung out, and they still hadn't recovered from the shock. Send someone to see why a mythological beast has appeared in this mountain. A family leader instructed, and 2 middle-aged men were sent to investigate. Hold on. The other family leaders stopped the 2 of them and said, "All 8 of our families are here tonight. Seeing as we're going to investigate, I think it's best for each family to send a representative to go with us. What do you all think?" "Yes, I agree." The other family leaders nodded and gestured to the people around them. Thus, each of the 8 families sent a representative to investigate. After all, they could tell from the aura that this was a mythological beast, so no one was willing to let others take the lead. Boom! Bam! The sound of the explosion brought everyone back to their senses. and only then did they recall that Yiling was still burning in the flames. However, when they turned around, they were greeted by the sight of a small corner of the shelf that had already been incinerated by the flames. Yiling's figure was nowhere to be seen, and it was as if she had been engulfed by the flames. Only a putrid odor was wafting through the air from the flames. No one knew that just a moment ago, Fengjiu had rescued Yiling from behind the cliff and brought her down into the cave. Meanwhile, Tun Yun had completed its mission, and it transformed into a small ball that traveled through the night sky. It found a place to hide and waited for everyone to leave before reuniting with its master. In the cave, Song Yiping couldn't sit still and waited at the entrance of the cave. When he saw the two white figures that were still clearly visible in the night coming over, his face couldn't help but be filled with surprise. Ah Ling, he wanted nothing more than to go and catch her, but in the blink of an eye, Madame Ling had already brought her to the entrance of the cave. What are you waiting for? Then help him in. Fengjiu handed him over and walked inside. Song Yiping carried Yiling over to the bonfire, and tears began to well up in his eyes at the sight of her, even thinner than before. Ah Ling, wake up. It's me. She choked on the smoke and fainted. She can't hear you even if you call her. Fengjiu said calmly and walked to the fire. You've been guarding outside all night. Drink a bowl of soup first. Xinyuan Mose had already scooped a bowl of spirit snake soup and handed it to Fengjiu. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and squinted his eyes. Thank you, husband. She reached out to take the bowl and drank it. After the steaming spirit snake soup entered her stomach, she felt much more comfortable. Madam Ling, how is Ah Ling? Will she be all right? Song Yiping asked in a trembling voice as he hugged Yiling. His hands were holding her hands and rubbing them gently, trying to warm her body up. Chapter 35:53. Hearing this, Song Yiping laid her flat and scooped a bowl of spirit snake soup to her. He then helped her up into his arms and carefully fed her little mouthfuls. Seeing the spirit snake soup flowing down the corner of her mouth, Song Yiping could not help but feel anxious. She had fainted and could not eat at all. Even if he fed her like this, she would not be able to eat. After thinking about it, he picked up the bowl and drank a mouthful of spirit snake soup. Then he bent down and used his mouth to pass the snake soup into her mouth. Fengjiu was drinking soup on the side. When he saw this scene from the corner of his eye, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. This kid was good. Xinyuan Mose faintly glanced at him and looked away. He looked at Fengjiu and asked, Do you want another bowl? Have you eaten? Fengjiu asked. Seeing that he did not speak, he smiled and said, If you haven't eaten, then eat a little first. This soup has been simmering for a long time. It's all essence. She smiled and finished the soup in the bowl. Then she scooped a bowl for him. Seeing this, Xinyuan Mose reached out to take the bowl and drink it. After Song Yiping fed her half a bowl, he saw the originally unconscious person's eyelashes tremble slightly. Then she slowly opened her eyes. When the pair of calm eyes saw the person in front of her, confusion appeared. Yiping? Her voice was very weak. It was so weak that if one did not listen carefully, they would not be able to hear it. It's me, Ah Ling. I'm back. Song Yiping looked at her with red eyes. His voice was choked as if there was something stuck in his throat. I must have died to be able to see you. Her eyes were empty as she muttered. She was burned to death by the fire set by her clansmen. She must have died for her to see the person she missed so much. She must have died for her to not feel the pain of the flames burning her body. No, you're not dead. Ah Ling, you're fine. Madame Ling saved you. You're still alive. Song Yiping quickly said and helped her up so that she could see Fengjiu. Look, this is Madame Ling. She saved you. Yiling's empty gaze fell upon the azure-robed woman beside the fire. She had never seen this woman before. Was she the one who had saved her? To be able to save her under the eyes of those 8 clans, she must be a very powerful person. Thank you. She thanked him softly as tears fell from the corners of her eyes. Her clansmen wanted to burn her to death, but a woman she didn't know saved her. Fengjiu looked at her and said, Drink another bowl of soup. Nourish the body. As he spoke, he glanced at Song Yiping. Yes, drink another bowl of soup to warm your body, Song Yiping said, and quickly scooped another bowl of soup and carefully fed her to drink. After drinking the soup, her weak body couldn't bear the torment, so she fell asleep in Song Yiping's arms. Seeing her fall asleep, Song Yiping couldn't help but look at Fengjiu. Madam Ling, Fengjiu stood up and walked over to her side to check. After a long while, a trace of surprise flashed through her eyes. She has a purine body, but her body is severely damaged. It's like she fell in a deep thought as she stared at Yiling like what? Song Yiping couldn't help but ask. Fengjiu didn't answer him. Instead, she walked over to Xianyuan Mose and said, "Husband, do you think there's a Yin soul that can hide in her body?" She felt that something was wrong with her body. Chapter 35-54. Take a look and see if there's a Yin spirit hidden in her dantian. Xianyuan Mose gestured for her to check again. Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes flashed, and she carefully checked again. This time, when she withdrew her hand, she couldn't help but look at him. You saw through it? There's a fist-sized Yin spirit in her body, and it looks like it's about to take shape. When Song Yiping heard this, his heart couldn't help but sink as he asked, "Then what do we do?" Fengjiu thought for a moment and said, "Cut it out and take it out. It won't cause any trouble." Cut it out? Song Yiping's face paled in disbelief. Yes, that Yin spirit is as big as a fist, so we can only cut it out. Fengjiu said as she glanced at Song Yiping. It's a good thing that she met me. Others really can't save her. Song Yiping was stunned for a moment before he asked with a pale face, "Can her body take the cut? Will she?" "Don't worry. She won't die as long as I'm here." She waved her hand and said, "Put her to the side first and clean up a clean place. Cover the ground with clothes and don't let her body touch the ground. Then prepare some water." Although Song Yiping was worried, he still prepared according to her instructions. After an unknown amount of time, when everything was ready, the sky outside was gradually turning bright. Xianyuan Mose knew that she was going to cut Yiling, so he went to the cave and sat down cross-legged with his back facing the outside. Fengjiu took out all kinds of small knives from her space and placed them on a tray. She cleaned all the knives and put them through the fire before she said to Song Yiping, "Take off her clothes." Take off her clothes?" Song Yiping was stunned and his ears turned red. This sigh. He was a man, so how could he take off her clothes? Fengjiu glanced at him and said, "Aren't you her fiancé? If you don't help her, will she be able to take it off herself? Not only do you have to take it off, but you also have to keep an eye on it. When I cut it, I'll need your help." Hearing this, Song Yiping gritted his teeth and replied. He reached out to untie her waist belt, then her outer clothes, then her inner clothes. Finally, when he saw the doo-doo, his face turned red and he stuttered, This isn't necessary, right?" "Take it off," Fengjiu said with a frown as he glanced at the doo-doo, covering her chest and stomach. Hearing this, Song Yiping blushed and reached out to take off Yiling's doo-doo. Even though she had her eyes closed, he was still extremely nervous. Especially when his hand touched her skin, it felt like it was on fire. Looking at the dilly-dallying Song Yiping, Fengjiu chuckled. "She's so thin now. She's almost skin and bones. What's there to see? I just asked you to help her take off her clothes. Do you have to be so nervous?" Song Yiping pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He lowered his head to take off Yiling's doo-doo, but he didn't dare to look around. That's right, Yiling was so thin that she didn't have any flesh on her body. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she was just skin and bones. Not only was she not beautiful, she was even a little scary. However, looking at her skinny body, he only felt heartache. No matter what she became, in his eyes, she would always be the prettiest, the most beautiful. Now, even if she was unconscious and he had to take off her clothes, he was still extremely nervous. If she woke up and found out, would she blame him? Chapter 35-55. Song Yiping shifted his gaze down and heaved a sigh of relief. However, when the next scene entered his eyes, his entire body tensed up again. Madame Ling had used silver needles to seal the acupoints around Yi Ling's body. Immediately after, she used a sharp knife to gently cut Yi Ling's abdomen. Blood quickly gushed out, and the strong smell of blood entered his nose, causing his heart to tighten. "Wipe the blood clean," Fengjiu said softly. She pressed a hand on Yi Ling's dantian and used her divine sense to sense the presence of the Yin spirit. She cut open the wound and put down the knife before using a pair of tweezers. Song Yiping's face was pale as he used a clean cloth to wipe away the blood. Due to his nervousness and worry, large beads of sweat had appeared on his forehead. He felt that time was passing very slowly. In particular, the blood that was gushing out of the wound made him feel that if this continued, she would bleed to death. "I'm going to lure out the Yin spirit. I can't stop the bleeding, but I'll speed up. Pay attention later, and don't let the Yin spirit escape," Fengjiu said softly, but her hands did not stop moving at all. "Okay," Song Yiping responded and did as she instructed. Fengjiu moved her hand slightly. She could sense that the Yin spirit was hiding in the corner and was shrinking closer and closer. She immediately used her palm to release a God Monarch level aura into Yi Ling's body. The Yin spirit that had been hiding in the corner suddenly shrank back after sensing the terrifying pressure. It wanted to escape by following the flow of blood, but in the next instant, a pair of tweezers clamped down on it and dragged it out. After Feng Jiu caught the Yin spirit, she dragged it out. However, at this moment, a strong force came from the tweezers, and the Yin spirit flew out of the cave with a whoosh. "Catch it!" Feng Jiu yelled. Her hands did not stop moving. She quickly stopped the bleeding and stitched up Yi Ling's wound. Song Yiping rushed over in a flash, only to see the spirit escape from his hands and fly towards the entrance of the cave. Just when he thought it would escape, he saw Xianyuan Mose, who was sitting at the entrance of the cave, point his finger, and the spirit fell back and rolled into his hand. He was stunned as he looked at the fist-sized ball of blood in his hand. His heart trembled. There was such a thing hidden in Yi Ling's body. How did this thing get into her body? He quickly came back to his senses and put it into a silver net that he had prepared earlier. Then he returned to the side and saw Madame Ling sewing up the wound with a needle. Her movements were as if she was sewing clothes. He was shocked to see it. So wounds can be treated like this? How incredible! Not long after, Fengjiu finished treating Yi Ling's wound. As she retrieved the silver needle, she pressed her palm against Yi Ling's wound and injected a faint green lotus life force in her body to heal her wound. She used her hand to cover her wound, so Song Yiping didn't see it. After she injected life force into the wound, she covered it with her clothes and looked at Song Yiping. "Bring that thing over." Song Yiping returned to his senses and brought the Yin spirit forward. She took out a small knife and cut out the ball of blood, revealing a small ball of blood that was the size of an egg yolk. Chapter 3556. Hearing this, Song Yiping let out a sigh of relief and said, "Thank you, Madame Ling. However, the body can recover, but the hair probably won't." "I know. It's already very good that the body can recover. Even if a Ling has a head of white hair, I won't treat her the same as before," Song Yiping said as he carefully helped her put on her clothes. Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled. After washing her hands and putting away the things, she said to him, "You can stay here and take care of her for the time being. We'll go out for a while." As he spoke, he came to Xianyuan Mo's side. "Don't you need a rest for a while?" Xianyuan Mo stood up and looked at him as he asked. After all, he had been busy since yesterday and hadn't rested until now. "It's fine, I'm not tired," Feng Jiu said with a smile. He took his hand and went out with him, returning to the top of the mountain. At this time, the people from last night had already dispersed. Not a single one of them stayed, leaving only the pile of ashes by the cliff. The two of them looked around and didn't see Tun Yun's figure, so Feng Jiu called out, "Tun Yun." A voice containing spiritual energy spread through the air. Tun Yun, who was sleeping in a certain part of the forest, heard this voice and immediately jumped up, heading towards the top of the mountain. Tun Yun wasn't the only one who heard this voice. Even the 8 people sent by the 8 families heard it. The 8 of them searched for an entire night, but didn't find any trace of the mythological beast. They originally wanted to return at dawn to report, but who knew that at this time they would hear a faint voice. Someone entered Qianling Mountain. The 8 of them looked at each other in surprise. One had to know that Qianling Mountain's terrain was steep, and each family used their own abilities to set up formations and traps. It was very difficult for ordinary people to enter Qianling Mountain. Today, they unexpectedly heard a voice coming from the top of the mountain. Let's go take a look. Immediately, the 8 of them rushed towards the top of the mountain. Master! Tun Yun rushed out from the thicket and quickly arrived in front of Fengjiu, saying, Master, there are 8 people following me. I think they're coming over here now. Don't worry, they won't be able to see us, Fengjiu said as he waved his sleeves and put it into his space. Xianyuan Mose, who was beside her, reached out and pulled her down. Not long after they left, 8 figures quickly arrived at the top of the mountain. However, when they looked around, they did not see anyone else other than them. Strange, that voice clearly came from here, one of them murmured. He looked around, but didn't see anyone. He walked forward and came to the edge of the cliff to look down. Do you think he went down there? That person frowned and looked at the others. That's impossible. That's a poisonous fog down there. Who could avoid it? Another person said as he stepped forward and said, In the past, there have been people who disappeared after falling down. Moreover, the Inchi down there is so heavy. How can anyone dare to set foot in there? Hearing this, the people behind him looked at each other and said, Then, what if it's not an ordinary person? Don't forget that last night's roar was the sound of a mythological beast. A mythological beast came here for no reason. Even if we didn't see any traces of the mythological beast, I think someone must have entered Qianling Mountain. It's just that we don't know. Chapter 35:57. They reported the news to the family. As for how to deal with it, it was up to the family head. After all, to be able to quietly come here without alerting the great families, they were probably not ordinary people. Moreover, there was also the mythological beast that they had been fighting for the whole night without seeing. When they returned to report their findings to the family head, the people of the families gathered together to discuss. I think there's no need to make a fuss. After all, the other party didn't do anything harmful to our families. Moreover, since the other party can quietly come to Qianling Mountain with a mythological beast, their strength can't be underestimated. Why should we provoke them? That's not the case. Qianling Mountain is considered the territory of our 8 families. Now that someone has come in, we don't know who it is. Even if we don't become enemies with the other party, I think we should know who it is that entered Qianling Mountain. What's their purpose here? And I agree. We still have to investigate clearly. It's just that they can't find any traces of their whereabouts. Even if we send people, where can we find them? To the bottom of the cliff? It's not like you don't know where that place is. Hearing this, the few of them fell silent. Finally, one of them said, In my opinion, let's wait and see. I think they're just passing by. The others listened and didn't speak. That's right. If they couldn't find anyone in Qianling Mountain, then it could only be the bottom of the cliff. However, that place was very dangerous. Moreover, they hadn't gone down to explore for so long, so it wasn't easy to make arrangements. Then let's wait and see. In the end, the few of them decided to wait and see. In the cave, Fengjiu looked at Song Yiping and asked, What do you plan to do now? She probably can't go back like this. Hearing this, Song Yiping was silent for a while and said, Madam Ling, can we wait until Ah Ling wakes up? I have a plan that I want to discuss with her first. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled. Actually, you can go anywhere. You can even rest here for a while. However, the 2 of us can't stay here for too long. We still have things to do. You're leaving? Song Yiping looked at them in astonishment. Tomorrow at most. We'll leave tomorrow, Fengjiu said. Hearing that they were about to leave, Song Yiping couldn't help but feel a little anxious. In fact, he had been thinking about this problem ever since they saved Yi Ling. And he also had a faint plan in his heart, but he still wanted to discuss it with Yi Ling before opening his mouth. He had thought that with Yi Ling's white hair and her pure Yin physique, the two of them wouldn't be able to roam the world in peace. In fact, if they encountered powerful cultivators, he wouldn't even have the ability to protect her. After all, a purine physique was far too tempting for cultivators. However, if they could follow Master Ling and Madame Ling, they would be different. With their strength, no one would dare to have any ideas about Yi Ling. Furthermore, they had saved Yi Ling and helped him so much. He also hoped that he could repay them, even if it was to follow by their side as a bodyguard who could do whatever they wanted. Chapter 3558. Xianyuan Mose didn't say anything and only glanced at him indifferently. Feng Jiu raised her brows and smiled. You want to bring her along with us? Yes, he replied. Feng Jiu smiled. Why? Wouldn't it be better for you to live on your own? Find a small village and live a normal life there. Since Ling has a pure Yin body, we can't live a normal life. Song Yiping smiled bitterly. Moreover, the two of you saved her life. We can't repay you with anything. Feng Jiu chuckled and shook her head. Even if you want to bring Yi Ling with you, we don't want to take her in. She saved a person and didn't plan to take her in. All right, take good care of her. When we leave tomorrow, we can protect you on the way. At that time, you can take her to a place to nurse her body back to health. In the future, you can find a small place to live. Feng Jiu smiled as she held Xianyuan Mose's hand. Husband, let's go find some meat to eat. Okay. Xianyuan Mose looked at her dotingly, and his lips curled into a faint smile. In the next moment, he held her hand and led her outside, leaving Song Yiping kneeling on the ground. He didn't pay any more attention to him. He looked on as the two of them disappeared into the cave, and he heaved a faint sigh before turning to look at the unconscious Yi Ling. Xianyuan Mose and Feng Jiu walked slowly in the forest below. Feng Jiu flipped her hand, and a Baiwan mirror appeared in her hand. She looked at it and said, What do you think is so special about this mirror? Where can we use this as a key? If we can't solve this mystery, it's useless to have this thing. Xianyuan Mose glanced at it and said unhurriedly, Since this thing fell into our hands, it must be fated to be with us. Maybe it's not time yet. When the time comes, the mystery will be solved. Hearing this, Feng Jiu chuckled. You're quite optimistic about things. That's the truth. Xianyuan Mose's eyes flashed when he saw the spirit fruits. We didn't reach this area that day. Feng Jiu looked ahead and saw a few spirit fruit trees. She couldn't help but be surprised. Huh? Spirit fruits? These are really spirit fruits. There's no one taking care of this area, but there are so many fruits. Her eyes were filled with joy as she smiled. We went the other way that day. If we knew there were spirit fruits here, we would have come a long time ago. The two of them walked forward and came under one of the spirit fruit trees. Feng Jiu picked one and wiped it clean before tasting it. The juice overflowed as it entered her mouth. It was accompanied by a faint sweetness and a pure aura of spirit power. After swallowing it, the spirit power in her body began to circulate. I've never seen this before. Try it. It's very fragrant and sweet. She plucked a ripe spirit fruit and wiped it clean before handing it to Xianyuan Mose. Xianyuan Mose took it and took a bite. It was as she said. He looked around, and his gaze fell on the leaves of a spirit fruit tree at the very back. There, he could vaguely see a pair of eyes flickering and staring at them. Chapter 3559. Squeak, squeak. A squeak was heard. Immediately after, there was a sudden movement among the dense branches and leaves. A little golden monkey jumped onto the top of the spiritual fruit tree and squeaked at them with its teeth bared. A monkey? Feng Jiu was a little stunned. She looked at the monkey with golden fur all over its body. She looked around and said, That's strange. Why is there a monkey here? And it's a golden spirit monkey. Xianyuan Mose looked around and frowned slightly. Spirit monkeys usually come in groups. There shouldn't be only one here. He walked forward. The spirit monkey squeaked at them with its teeth bared. Immediately after, it grabbed a fruit from the spiritual fruit tree and threw it at them. Seeing this, Feng Jiu could not help but smile. She caught the spirit fruit and played with it in her hands while following Xianyuan Mose forward. This spirit monkey can actually stay in such a place with such strong yin energy. It seems that it's not ordinary. The yin energy in this area was too strong. The surrounding ferocious beasts and spirit beasts did not dare to appear here. Hence, they were surprised to see this spirit monkey. Squeak, 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 squeak. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The little monkey picked fruits and threw them at them while jumping up and down to hide in the spirit fruit tree. Occasionally, it would pop its head out and scream at them while baring its teeth. When it saw that they were getting closer and closer, it suddenly scurried away. Forget it. Let's not chase it. It's just a little monkey, Fengjiu said, and reached out to hold Xianyuan Mo's. Seeing this, Xianyuan Mo's said, "Do you want to move this spiritual fruit tree into your space?" Hearing this, Fengjiu pursed her lips and smiled. Of course, if you move it in, you can eat any spiritual fruit you want in the future. Although there were already many spiritual fruit trees in the space, she would not mind having more new varieties. She gently touches the trunk of the spiritual fruit tree with one hand. With a thought, the spiritual fruit tree is moved into the space and planted in the fruit tree forest in the space. The little golden monkey didn't go far. It hid behind a tree and peeked through the leaves. When it saw the spirit fruit trees disappear one by one in the human's hands, it couldn't help but grit its teeth and scratch its fur. It made a squeaking sound, as if it was very angry. After transplanting the fruit trees into the space, Fengjiu looked at the golden monkey and smiled. What's wrong? You want to eat fruits? Here. With a flip of her hand, she tossed a fruit to it. The little golden monkey hooked the branch with its tail and reached out to catch the fruit thrown by Fengjiu. It tilted its head and stared at her for a while, then took the fruit and ate it. As it ate, it stared at her. Apart from this little monkey, I didn't see any ferocious beasts or wild animals. It seems that we can only eat some fruits and the food stored in the space tonight, Fengjiu said helplessly and looked at Xianyuan Mo's beside her. Let's keep looking. We should be able to find it if we walk further, Xianyuan Mo said and held her hand and walked forward. The two of them walked forward, and the little monkey also tiptoed and followed behind them. When Fengjiu noticed it and glanced back, she saw the little monkey sitting cross-legged on the ground and scratching the fur on its body, pretending not to see her. Chapter 3560. As they spoke, Fengjiu threw another fruit over. The little monkey quickly picked it up and ate it while following them. Xianyuan Mo's shook his head helplessly. If you don't throw it to it to eat, it won't follow. Sigh. If it weren't for the fact that I already have so many contracted beasts and pets, I would really want to keep this little monkey. Fengjiu sighed softly and looked at the little spirit monkey with some pity. When he heard this, a dark light flashed across Xianyuan Mo's deep black eyes. He glanced at her and smirked. In the future, let's have a few more little monkeys. They'll be much more interesting than this little monkey. Fengjiu was stunned for a moment. Then he glared at him. What little monkey? Even if we have children, they will be our children. The two of them chatted as they walked further and further away until they caught a wild boar. Only then did they return. The monkey followed them, so they let it follow. When they reached the bottom, they took a deep breath and rushed back to the cave. You're awake? Fengjiu saw Yiling opening her eyes and leaning into Song Yiping's arms. Thank you for saving me, Yiling said. Although her voice was still very weak, her breathing had stabilized. Earlier, she heard Song Yiping's explanation of the situation and knew his plan. She also agreed with his plan. However, since Master Ling and Madam Ling didn't want to take them in, they couldn't force them. They had no choice but to find a small place to live in seclusion. Ling, lean against the wall and sit for a while. I will help roast the pig, Song Yiping said, and help her lean against the wall. Then, he rolled up his sleeves and went to Xianyuan Mo's. Master Ling, leave this to me. Sit down and rest. Okay. Xianyuan Mo's nodded and handed the little wild boar to him. He took out some water and washed his hands before sitting down by the fire. We went out to look for wild animals. We found some spirit fruits. Eat a few. Fengjiu took out a big handful of spirit fruits and handed it to Yiling. The ripe fruits were bright red, and looked fresh and delicious. Yiling looked at her and smiled weakly. "Thank you, Mrs. Ling." She raised her hand to pick up a fruit and felt that the spirit fruit was very small and cute in her hand. Ever since she fell ill, she hadn't eaten such a tempting spirit fruit in a long time. "Eat a few more. It can nourish the body," Feng Jiu said, and picked up another one to give to Xianyuan Mo's husband. "Eat another one." "No, you can have it," Xianyuan Mo's said as he took out a flagon from a space and took a sip. He didn't really eat spirit fruits. Song Yiping was processing the meat at the entrance of the cave. However, in the next moment, he saw a little golden monkey crawling up along the vines and looking in their direction. Squeak, creak, creak, creak. "Master Ling, Madam Ling, there's a spirit monkey outside. Did it follow you back?" Song Yiping turned around and asked because he saw the little golden monkey swinging around with the vines and squeaking at them, trying to attract the attention of the people in the cave. Feng Jiu was eating the fruit when he heard this. He stood up and walked out. Sure enough, he saw the little golden monkey swinging around with the vines and squeaking nonstop. Chapter 35:61. Squeak, squeak. The little monkey grabbed the vine and swung it. It didn't seem to be afraid of them jumping into the cave. It walked on its 2 feet and squatted in front of Feng Jiu with its hands tucked in front of its chest. It raised its head and looked at Feng Jiu. Then it stretched out its hand, obviously asking for the spirit fruit. "Last one." Feng Jiu smiled and put a fruit in its palm, saying, "Go back quickly after you finish eating." The little spirit monkey took the spirit fruit and finished it in a few mouthfuls. It threw the core of the fruit out of the cave and stretched out its hand to Feng Jiu, squeaking, "No more." Feng Jiu stared. How much had this greedy monkey eaten along the way? Squeak, 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 squeak. The little spirit monkey squeaked and stretched out its claws to grab Feng Jiu's clothes, then pulled her sleeves. Suddenly, it jumped on her shoulder and played with her nonstop. Suddenly, Feng Jiu felt that her sleeves were light. She saw that the little monkey had taken out the 8 trigrams mirror that she had put in her sleeves to play with. At this moment, it was looking at it left and right in its hands. It even took a bite of it. Feng Jiu was speechless. "Give it to me. That can't be eaten." Feng Jiu leaned over to take the 8 trigrams mirror. Unexpectedly, the little monkey jumped and dodged. Seeing this, she took out a fruit, saying, "Give that to me. This fruit is for you." She held the fruit in her hand and shook it. Squeak, squeak. The little monkey squeaked, and in the next moment, it opened its mouth and swallowed the 8 trigrams mirror. "You." Feng Jiu looked at it in astonishment. She saw that the little spirit monkey's movements were so fast that she did not have time to stop it. When she was about to step forward, the 8 trigrams mirror had already been swallowed in front of her. The palm-sized 8 trigrams mirror was swallowed by a little monkey just like that. She was stunned. How? How is this possible? She rushed forward, wanting to catch the spirit monkey. She wanted to feel how the 8 trigrams mirror was placed in its stomach. Unexpectedly, the spirit monkey scuttled and leaped outwards. "Don't run," Feng Jiu shouted and chased after him. In the cave, Xianyuan Mo saw this and glanced outside, then got up and chased after them. Given the duo's ability and speed, a mere spirit monkey should not be able to escape. However, that spirit monkey's speed was extremely fast. It dodged to the left and pulled apart the distance between it and Feng Jiu. Damn it! Feng Jiu's face darkened. She hadn't figured out how to use the 8 trigrams mirror before it was snatched away by the monkey. It was her fault. She didn't guard against the monkey when it became docile. She had failed miserably at such an easy task. "Don't worry, it can't escape." As Xianyuan Mo spoke, he flashed to her side and said, "I left a strand of my divine sense on the Bagua mirror." Upon hearing this, Feng Jiu was slightly surprised. "You actually left your divine sense behind? I didn't even notice it." Hearing his words, she was relieved. With his divine sense, it didn't matter even if she couldn't keep up with the little monkey. "Seeing that you often took it out to play with it, I was worried that you wouldn't know when it would drop, so I left a strand of my divine sense behind. Xinyuan Mo's curled his lips. He reached out and hugged her, leading her forward. The two figures skimmed through the forest. The Inchi in the forest automatically dispersed when it came into contact with them, but the little monkey had already disappeared. Chapter 3562. Why did it snatch the 8 trigrams mirror? It actually slipped away after snatching it. Fengjiu said gloomily. He hadn't even managed to figure out anything from the item he was playing with, and it was actually stolen by a little monkey. This kind of golden silk spirit monkey has a hobby of collecting treasures, Xinyuan Mo said. Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes lit up. Oh, a hobby of collecting treasures. Hee, this hobby sounds pretty good. A glint flashed across her eyes as she snorted in her heart. How dare it snatch my things? If I don't confiscate all its treasures, then I'm not Fengjiu. They skimmed through the forest. After a long time, Xinyuan Mo slowed down. He scanned the surroundings and said, the Inchi in this area isn't that heavy. Moreover, there are a lot of chaotic auras. It seems like there are ferocious beasts and spirit beasts hiding in this area. This forest was an accident. Under the cliff of Qianling Mountain, there was such an Inchi forest. Not only were there spirit fruits, there were also all kinds of ferocious beasts and spirit beasts. That's right. After reaching this area, he finally felt the aura of ferocious beasts and spirit beasts. Zhi. Following the swaying of the leaves, there was a rustling sound between the branches and leaves. A cacophony of monkey cries suddenly sounded in the surroundings and entered the two's ears. Zhi. Xinyuan Moses Fengjiu looked over and saw that there were golden monkeys jumping up and down on the trees, between the branches and leaves, between the grass, and on the vines hanging down from the trees. They waved their hands and bared their teeth as they let out sharp squeaks. As far as the eye could see, the golden monkeys all looked exactly the same. Although some of them were bigger and some were smaller, they were all mixed together in a dazzling sight. There are actually so many monkeys. There must be over 100 of them, right? Fengjiu gasped slightly. He was still wondering why there was only one small spirit monkey. He did not expect the entire troop to be here. Xinyuan Mo's gaze swept past those golden monkeys and his brows slightly furrowed. In the next moment, he automatically searched for that strand of divine sense that belonged to him. When his divine sense sensed a fluctuation, his gaze also followed and looked toward a little spiritual monkey that was standing on a tree branch and squeaking. It's that one, over there. As Xinyuan Mo spoke, a wind blade shot out from his hand and attacked the little golden monkey that was squatting on the branch. Creak! The little golden monkey was originally shouting happily, but when it suddenly saw a stream of air coming, it was so scared that it screamed and quickly hid in another place. In the blink of an eye, it was mixed with the other little golden monkeys. Fengjiu, who had let the little golden monkey escape before he even made a move, frowned. This won't do. There are so many monkeys that I can't recognize them. She suddenly thought of something, and her eyes lit up. The corner of her mouth revealed a malicious smile. This time, you tell me which one it is. Don't make a move first. I'll mark that little monkey. Okay, Xinyuan Mo responded, then swept out with his divine sense. His gaze once again locked onto one of the little monkeys. However, just as he was about to speak, that little monkey seemed to have sensed something and actually scurried away, quickly blending in with the other monkeys. Chapter 3563. Once the boundary was set up, those spirit monkeys instantly screeched anxiously, jumping up and down. In this way, it would be even more troublesome to catch the original one. The fourth monkey on the left branch of the second tree in front. Xinyuan Mo's voice was heard, his gaze still fixed on the front. Fengjiu's eyes moved, and her lips curled into a smile. All right. In the next moment, her figure flew out, and her divine sense locked onto that monkey. With a wave of her hand, a small flame sprang up and flew out at a speed that was too fast for one to cover one's ears. Squeak, squeak. When those monkeys saw the flame, they scurried in all directions and avoided it. The monkey targeted by Fengjiu squeaked. Its tail hooked onto a branch and jumped down. However, at this moment, a flame ignited the monkey hair on its tail, and the burning pain caused it to scream. Squeak! A sharp scream came out of that monkey's mouth. In the blink of an eye, that monkey's hair was completely burned, and a burnt smell spread in the air. The surrounding monkeys were dumbfounded. A few of the larger monkeys came back to their senses and quickly came to the side of the monkey, tried to extinguish the flames on its body. However, no matter how they used leaves or their hands to pat it, or even the soil on the ground to sprinkle on its body, they were unable to extinguish the flames. Squeak, 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 that those monkeys screamed angrily and suddenly surrounded Fengjiu. They showed their claws, bared their teeth, and pounced on her. Seeing this scene, Xianyuan Mo's face darkened. He snorted coldly, and the pressure on his body spread out like water ripples. At that moment, those monkeys all trembled and squatted down, not even daring to raise their heads. Fengjiu waved her hand, and the flame was extinguished. The little spirit monkey's hair was all gone. Other than a little scalded skin, it was not seriously injured. After all, she was merciful. Creak, creak. The little monkey curled up on the ground and cried out. When it saw Fengjiu walking towards it, its body shrank a little, and a hint of guilt appeared in its eyes. "Hand it over," Fengjiu said as she looked down at the little spiritual monkey that was covered in red from head to toe. Squeak, squeak. It squeaked twice and shrank back. It actually turned its head away, obviously unwilling to hand over the item. "You don't want to hand it over?" Fengjiu sneered. He moved his hand, and a cluster of flames danced on his fingertips. Creak, creak, creak. The little spirit monkey screamed a few times in panic. Then it opened its mouth and spat out the 8 trigrams mirror and handed it to her. Also, Fengjiu glanced at it. "Where's your treasure? You don't think that you can just return what you stole from me, do you?" As she spoke, she played with the flame on her fingertips, full of threat. Creak, creak. The little spirit monkey seemed to be very angry, but it was also afraid of the flame on her fingertips. In the end, it opened its mouth and spat out more than 20 items. There were beads, magic weapons, shiny gold coins, and crystal cores. Looking at the small pile of items, Fengjiu's eyes flashed. She squatted down and glanced at the little spirit monkey. "I didn't expect it to hide so many things. Is that all?" Creak, creak. The little spirit monkey quickly squeaked, waved its hand, and retreated. Chapter 3564. With a wave of her hand, she removed Xianyuan Mo's barrier and collected the things on the ground. Then, she turned around and walked to Xianyuan Mo's side. "Let's go." "Okay," Xianyuan Mo responded. Just as he was about to leave with her, the little spirit monkey behind them stood up again and took 2 steps forward to their side. "What do you want?" Fengjiu glanced at it and said, "I won't let you off again and again." Squeak, squeak, squeak. The little spirit monkey pulled her dress and pointed at a certain place with one hand. It wanted them to follow it. "You little monkey is used to lying. I'm not going." Fengjiu snorted softly. He did not believe the monkey's words at all. Seeing this, the little monkey could not help but become anxious. It pulled her dress and pointed at a certain place in front of them while squeaking. "Let's go take a look," Xianyuan Mo said. He looked ahead and released his divine senses to explore. However, he did not notice anything different. Hearing this, Fengjiu agreed. The two followed the little monkey forward. They thought that it was not far, but they went deeper and deeper. "Where's it taking us? We have been walking for a long time." The sky gradually darkened, and the light in the forest became weaker. As the sun went down, the Yin-Chi gradually condensed in the forest. Xianyuan Mo held her hand and pushed away the weeds and branches that were half a person's height in front of her. He said, "These monkeys live here and should be very familiar with this place. Maybe there will be some cave-dwelling opportunities in this place. Hearing this, Fengjiu felt that it made sense. No one had set foot in this place before. In other words, even if someone had been here before, it was very rare. In addition, the entire forest was filled with dense energy. The terrain was steep and the atmosphere was strange. Perhaps there was really some opportunity here. Thinking of this, she could not help but feel excited. She was curious about what the little spirit monkey would bring them to. As the night sky gradually brightened, they arrived at a waterfall under the guidance of the little spirit monkey. Looking at the waterfall flowing down from high above, Xinyuan, Mose, and Fengjiu were a little surprised. They did not expect that there would be such a huge waterfall in the depths of the forest. The sound of water splashing could be heard as it flowed down from the sky, crashing into the rocks below, splashing a large amount of water. Then, it melted into the water and flowed downstream. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Little Spirit Monkey called out a few times and pointed at the waterfall in front. Immediately after, it jumped and grabbed the vines by the side and swung towards the waterfall. Its small figure swung into the waterfall that was halfway up. Looking at the Little Spirit Monkey's figure disappearing into the waterfall, the two could not help but look at each other. The next moment, they rushed towards the waterfall, passing through the water curtain and entering a cave dwelling behind the water curtain. The dark cave dwelling was bottomless. They could vaguely see the little monkey leading the way in front. The two walked all the way. After an unknown period of time, Fengjiu suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" Xinyuan Mose asked. Fengjiu took out the 8 trigrams mirror and said, "The 8 trigrams mirror is moving." In the palm of his hand, the 8 trigrams mirror trembled slightly, as if there was a suction force attracting it. Chapter 3565. Let's take a look at the situation in front. Fengjiu said. She held the 8 trigrams mirror in one hand and held Xinyuan Mose's hand in the other. When the two of them followed the little spirit monkey to the innermost part of the cave, they could not help but stop in their tracks. In front of them was an illusory wall. That illusory wall was like a distorted airflow that blocked the path ahead. They could not see what was behind this illusory wall. They only saw that after the little spirit monkey came to the front, it stretched out its hand and touched the wall. Then its entire body followed suit and jumped in. "What's this?" Fengjiu asked and walked forward. However, before she could get close, the little spirit monkey screamed and rushed out. Behind it, a huge, ferocious beast followed. The ferocious beast opened its mouth and bit the little spirit monkey. It was so fast that she could not save it in time. She could only watch as the little spirit monkey was dragged back and swallowed by the huge, ferocious beast. Fengjiu widened her eyes in shock. She was protected in Xinyuan Mose's arms. When the ferocious beast rushed out, Xinyuan Mose reached out and pulled her into his arms. At the same time, he quickly retreated a few meters. It was because of this that she could not save the little spirit monkey in time. The cave was completely silent, and there wasn't even the slightest smell of blood. However, at that moment, the ferocious beast from before passed through half of its body from behind the illusory wall. It stared at Xinyuan Mose and Fengjiu with its bloodthirsty and ferocious eyes. Perhaps because it sensed the powerful pressure from them, the ferocious beast let out a low roar and bared its sharp teeth at them, then retreated. The air was filled with the ferocious beast's bloodthirsty and oppressive aura. Xinyuan Mose frowned. A look of deep thought flashed across his deep eyes. Fengjiu stared blankly. It seemed that she had not recovered from her shock. After a long while, she asked, "Was the little monkey eaten?" Xinyuan Mose was silent for a while before he replied, "Yes." Upon hearing this, Fengjiu did not speak for a moment. Although she was angry that the little spirit monkey ran away after snatching her things, she let it go after it returned the things. Moreover, it brought them here. However, in such a short time, the little spirit monkey was actually eaten by a divine beast right in front of their eyes. What is this place? The one that came out just now was a divine beast, the speed tiger. I've only seen this kind of vicious beast in the Myriad Beast book. She said softly. She still could not believe it. Just a moment ago, she had witnessed the little spirit monkey being eaten by a ferocious beast that was known for its speed. In this world, the strong preyed on the weak. This applied not only to humans, but also to beasts. However, when this scene happened in front of her, the shock made her heart tighten. Xinyuan Mose pushed her behind him and said, "Wait here. I'll take a look." He walked up to the illusory wall of air and stretched out his hand to touch it. However, the moment he touched it, a strong force surged out and bounced him back. He could not help but take a few steps back. "Be careful." Fengjiu walked up to him and grabbed his hand. She looked at it and asked, "Are you all right? Are you hurt?" Chapter 3566. He held her hand and looked ahead, saying, "No one can touch this wall, and no one can enter it. If they try to force their way in, they will only be injured by the rebound force. However, from what happened earlier, beasts should be able to enter." Fengjiu was silent. She looked at the illusory wall and said, "But we don't know what's on the other side. The 8 trigrams mirror in my hand is moving here. I think it has something to do with the realm of emptiness that old master you mentioned. Let Swallowing Cloud go in and take a look," Xinyuan Mose said. Hearing this, Fengjiu summoned Swallowing Cloud. With a flash of light, Swallowing Cloud stood in front of them and looked at it. Fengjiu recalled the scene of the little spirit monkey being swallowed and could not help but exhort Swallowing Cloud, "Go over there and take a look. No matter what you see, you must come back within the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. Also be careful. There should be a very strong beast over there." Although Swallowing Cloud was already a sacred beast, she could not help but exhort it. After all, they did not know what kind of existence was on the other side. Swallowing Cloud nodded. It glanced at the strange wall and leaped into it. Fengjiu saw it enter and flicked his finger. A cluster of flames floated up and lit up the surroundings. She looked at the stone walls on both sides, as if searching for something. "Are you trying to see if there are any traps?" Xinyuan Mose asked. He saw her searching the stone walls, and the 8 trigrams mirror in her hand was still swaying. "Let's see if we can find anything. Who knows, there might be some hidden traps," Fengjiu said as she used the light of the flames to search the stone walls carefully. However, she did not find anything even after looking around. After about the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, Swallowing Cloud came out. Accompanying its return was the smell of blood that wafted into their noses. "Are you injured?" Fengjiu hurriedly asked, looking at it. "Master, don't worry, it's not my blood." Tunyon squatted down beside them as he spoke. He glanced behind him and said, "Master, I saw a forest over there. It was very large, and there were extremely high-ranked ferocious beasts everywhere. I encountered 3 ferocious beasts at the divine beast level in just a short while." Hearing this, Xinyuan Mose's Fengjiu frowned. No one knew what the two of them were thinking, but they didn't speak for a while. Moreover, the spiritual aura in that forest is very dense. It's very common to see ferocious beasts hunting each other. When I first came back, a divine beast followed me. I injured it and it escaped. Tunyon looked at them with a serious expression. "I don't know where it is, but it's very dangerous." Fengjiu lowered her head and looked at the 8 trigrams mirror in her hand, deep in thought. "How do we get there?" The 8 trigrams mirror in her hand swayed. Suddenly, she saw a streak of light flash across the mirror. She was stunned. She looked in the direction of the light and saw a small hole in the ceiling where she was standing. At this moment, moonlight shone in from outside the hole and shone on the 8 trigrams mirror in her hand. Chapter 3567. "Step back," Xinyuan Mose said as he pulled her out of the array. He looked at the 3 arrays that complemented each other under the moonlight and the mirror. Fengjiu looked at the arrays in astonishment. She couldn't help but be slightly surprised. After glancing at the 3 arrays, she looked in front of her. After the array on the ground appeared, the illusory wall slowly opened from middle. What they saw was a pitch-black cave. Immediately after, Two pairs of bloodthirsty and ferocious gazes entered their eyes in the darkness, and the thick smell of blood also spread out from the other side as the door opened. They were two godly beasts. When they saw the illusory wall open, the two godly beasts stared at it warily. When one of them saw Tun Yun, who was squatting beside Fengjiu, it roared and stepped back. It was obvious that Tun Yun's previous attack had made it fearful. Roar! The two godly beasts bared their teeth and roared threateningly at them. However, they didn't dare to step forward and even stared at them warily. Master, it's the godly beast that I met earlier, Tun Yun said as it stood up beside Fengjiu. When it saw that the godly beasts dared to roar at its master, it immediately roared angrily. Roar! The roar contained the might of a sacred beast. The two godly beasts were so frightened that their legs turned to jelly. They let out a low howl and quickly fled. Fengjiu was about to walk over to take a look when Xinyuan Mose pulled her back. She turned around and asked, "What's wrong? Have you forgotten that our main goal is to deal with the sovereign of Skirich and the Black Lotus Master? No matter where it is, we can't go there now," Xinyuan Mose said as he looked at the pitch-black cave opposite them. He said, "After we're done, if you still want to explore, I'll accompany you." He had a feeling that if they walked through this door today, they probably wouldn't return in a short period of time. Now, they still had other things to do. After much consideration, they naturally couldn't go there and explore now. Fengjiu thought for a while and nodded. That's true. She looked at the cave in front of her and said, "Even if the other side is really some kind of void realm, I can't split into two right now." As she spoke, she smiled and looked at him. However, our trip was not in vain. We accidentally came here and even opened the array door here. Yeah. Xinyuan Mo smiled when he saw that she had taken his words seriously. Thus, Fengjiu glanced at the opposite side and picked up the 8 trigrams mirror that was placed in the middle of the formation. As the 8 trigrams mirror left the ground, the illusory door gradually closed until it returned to its original appearance. She played with the 8 trigrams mirror in her hand and said, "Now I'm wondering why this mirror can't drip blood. I'll slowly study it in the future. It's already late at night. Don't you want to eat barbecue?" Song yipping should be done by now, Xinyuan Mose said as he held her hand and walked out. Tun Yun followed behind the two of them. After they left the waterfall at the entrance of the cave, they returned to Fengjiu's space. Under the night sky, in the forest, 2 figures flitted through the night like ghosts and went back the way they came. Chapter 3568. Yi Ling, who was sitting inside, heard his words and said, "They must have been delayed by something. Otherwise, they haven't caught up with that little spirit monkey. I don't think the two of them would get lost." Even though she had grown up in the clan and had never set foot in the outside world, she could tell that Master Ling and Madam Ling were not ordinary people. Even though they were concealing their auras, she could still sense their strength. Furthermore, they were able to save her from the 8 great clans. She didn't think that the two of them would get lost in that forest, even if that forest was known as a land of death. "Ling, how do you feel now? Does your wound still hurt?" He walked back to her side and asked, "Are you cold? Do you need to cover yourself with another layer of clothing?" Yi Ling smiled and said softly, "Madam Ling is really amazing. I feel much better already. As long as I don't pull on my wound, it won't hurt." She paused and took a deep breath before saying, "I'm not cold. It's very warm in here." She thought that as long as she recuperated for a few days, her body would definitely return to how it was in the past. As for her white hair, so be it. It was already good enough that she was able to keep her life. That's right. They're really powerful. Even the most powerful elders of the 8 great clans can't compare to them. Furthermore, I've seen them fight, and their battle prowess is astonishing. It's a pity that they're unwilling to accept us. Song Yipping sighed softly. If he could follow the two of them, he had a feeling that his life would be very interesting. It's already very benevolent of them to save me. It's only right that they're unwilling to accept us. After all, powerful people like them should have powerful people by their side. The two of us are still too weak. Yi Ling said softly and sighed softly in her heart. She had never set foot in the outside world, so she naturally hoped that she could follow powerful people and see the world. However, this also depended on fate. Since they weren't willing to accept them, they couldn't rely on them. After all, they owed Master Ling and Madam Ling enough. The sky outside is already so dark, and the forest is so big. In addition, there are many unknown dangers in the forest at night. I wonder how they are now. Song Yiping said worriedly as he walked back to the entrance of the cave to look outside. Seeing that the night was getting darker and darker, he felt uneasy. On the one hand, he wanted to find them, but on the other hand, he was worried about leaving Yi Ling here alone. After all, she was completely defenseless in her current state. If any poisonous snakes or beasts were to enter this place, she wouldn't even have the strength to escape. However, if he didn't go out to look for them and just waited here, he would feel anxious and uneasy. After all, the two of them were his benefactors. If something really happened to them, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. Yi Ling understood him. Seeing him fidgeting, she said, "Yiping, if you're worried about leaving me here alone, then set up a defensive barrier for me. I can stay here by myself." Hearing this, Song Yiping turned around. But he was worried. Chapter 35-69. However, while they were talking, Xinyuan Mose and Fengjiu arrived at the entrance of the cave. Smelling the aroma of meat, Fengjiu took a deep breath and said, "I'm really hungry. This meat smells so good." She walked inside and saw the two of them talking about something with a serious expression. She asked what's wrong. Seeing them return, the two were startled. Yi Ling smiled, and Song Yiping said, "It's good that you're back. We were just wondering if we should go out to look for you." Fengjiu washed her hands and sat down by the fire. She smiled and said, "It's good that you didn't go out. If you did, we would have to go out to look for you." She cut a piece of meat and handed it to Xinyuan Mose, who had washed his hands. She cut another piece and took a bite. Looking at the untouched meat, she said, "You're not eating it even though it's already roasted. Are you two idiots? Hurry up and eat it while it's hot." But Yi Ling can't eat too much roasted meat. Just drink the remaining snake soup. "Madam Ling, did you get that thing back?" Song Yiping asked, and cut a small piece of meat for Yi Ling. "I got it back," Fengjiu said, and didn't say much. Thinking about the little spirit monkey that was eaten by the beast, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. "Let's not talk about this. Come, I'll treat you to some wine. Let's say goodbye to each other tomorrow." She smiled and took out wine from her space. She took out 3 wine cups and poured a cup for each of them. "There's roasted meat to go with the wine." "Thank you." Song Yiping raised his cup and toasted the two. "I hope I can see Master Ling and Madam Ling again in the future. Thank you for the past 2 days. I'll drink this cup first." He drank the wine in one gulp and felt the spiritual energy in his stomach surging. The wine was mellow in his mouth, and he couldn't help but praise, "Good wine. Drink." Fengjiu also drank the wine and ate a piece of roasted meat. Xinyuan Mose, who was sitting next to her, didn't say anything and let her drink. He only helped her cut the meat to go with the wine. After drinking the wine, they started chatting. When the night fell and Fengjiu felt a little tipsy, she said, "Let me tell you, it's not impossible for Yi Ling's white hair to turn back to black. It's just that it's hard to do it." Burp. As she spoke, she let out a drunken burp. Xinyuan Mose, who was beside her, saw that she was gently shaking her head as she spoke. Her cheeks flushed red, and he pulled her to his side, then took out a cloak and draped it over her. When the slightly drunk Song Yiping heard this, his eyes lit up. "There's a way." "What? What?" "Yeah, it's just that the ingredients are hard to find. 1,000-year-old Chinese knotweed and 1,000-year-old. She leaned into Xinyuan Mose's embrace as she recited the ingredients, and Song Yiping also secretly memorized them. In the future, burp. She burped again and said to Song Yiping, "In the future, if you manage to find all of these herbs, I can help you refine pills. As long as I give her one pill, I guarantee that her hair will turn white and black." Hearing this, Song Yiping was excited. He stopped drinking and asked, "Then how do I find you in the future?" Hee me? I'm easy to find, but also not easy to find. She smiled and looked at Song yipping as if she was drunk, and said, However, I won't tell you. You only need to know that I'm the one with the best alchemy and medical skills. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.